agencies, temporary healthcare service agencies, and healthcare technology platforms have to register with the Department of Health beginning August 1st of that year. So Department of Health quickly came up with a website, a web page for the registration of temporary healthcare service agencies and the healthcare technology platforms. I'm showing you this website, and I'm going to tell you this is extremely important for you to write down. But if you can't write it down while I'm on this presentation slide, I'm going to show that website at least 3 or 4 more times as we go through. So please make an effort to jot it down or ask in the chat log. They'll also be posting this for us to access. Why? Why do I tell you this is important? Because this is going to have for us.
Pete, your slides aren't up yet. Is that okay?
Nope. Let me get them up. Sorry.
No worries.
Sorry, I was sharing. I don't know what happened. Can you see slides now?
We can see slides. Great job.
Great. Okay. So as I began, and I'm sorry to back up, we're a small group of 6 people under our director. That was Carrie Rosamelia, who just let me know that the slides weren't showing. We have a quick agenda. Okay, we'll try to get you out early. And in 2023, Article 29K was added to our public health law, and it says temporary healthcare service agencies must register with the Department of Health beginning August 1 of 2023. So we made a website. Here's our website. Sorry about that a minute ago. It's at the bottom of the screen. And I'm going to show this at least 3 or 4 more times. So if you can't jot it down, you'll have a chance to do it. But I'm going to keep us moving along. So what is a temporary healthcare service agency, Peter? Well, those are businesses that provide or procure healthcare workers to New York State healthcare entities. So a couple important definitions. You just heard a few words there about businesses. Agencies refer to you, the staffing agency, the temporary healthcare service agency, or the healthcare technology platform. I'll use the word entity to talk about a different business, which is those people in business as a hospital or a long-term care facility. So agencies provide workers to entities. That's what the takeaway is. Staffing agencies provide workers to healthcare entities. So Pete, you said you had to register. What does registration mean? Well, registration means completing an annual registration application every August. Remember I said the statute began August, so every year you have to register. And then after you register, which is just submitting a short form and some appendices, after you register, you've got to take action every 3 months. So 4 times a year, you have to submit a quarterly report package. That's what registration means. So how do I do the initial registration, that once a year item? Well, that's outlined on our website. There's our website again. If you haven't jotted it down, please jot it down. It's outlined on the website. It's not going to be covered in today's session. It's pretty self-explanatory. We don't seem to get many questions, if any, on it. So you'll do the registration. The 4 things you have to do throughout the year, though, are the quarterly reporting package. You must submit it to us via SendVault, and I'll get to what SendVault is momentarily. And you have 2 months to submit that package at the end of each quarter. So as you see here, January, February, March, you had April and May to submit that package to us. And then April, May, and June, that quarter ends on Monday, next Monday. You'll have 2 months, July and August, to get that to us. So these are the deadlines. This info is on the website also. And you don't always have to worry about, hey, am I going to forget or remember? Our IT staff will send you reminders until you're fed up that say, hey, you've got 4 weeks left till the end of August. You've got 3 weeks, 2 weeks. So you should get reminders telling you that the deadline is approaching for your quarterly report. Here's our calendar. This is what registration means. Once a year, every August, you'll send us the reporting package. You'll send us the registration package. And then at the end of each quarter, you send us the quarterly report package. So Peter, what's this quarterly report package you're talking about? Well, the quarterly reporting package consists of 5 items: a quarterly Excel file that we call wages and billing, and then 4 appendices. I'm not going to pay much attention to the 4 appendices. They're for administrative charges, you can see, and itemized invoice list. I think those are explanatory. The seminal part of your quarterly reporting package is number 1, quarterly reporting Excel file. So today we're going to focus on that. I want to make sure that you have the information, you're equipped to respond to that quarterly reporting Excel file. And yes, it was updated in June of 2025. So when you want to start reporting, let's say next Tuesday, July 1st, you say, hey, I want to start my report. You should go to our website and download the latest Excel template so that you get the June 2025 version. If you just say, well, I did this 3 months ago, I'm going to use the same one, then you're going to have an outdated version, and it's likely that the IT folks here in the department will ask you to please resubmit. So we're going to try to avoid that. Download the most recent one. Note, wink, wink, you have to clear your browser's cache. So if you're not sure what that is, I would say just Google it. I can't really explain it for all different browsers, but computers have a little memory that they call the cache. So if you downloaded the file a few months ago and then you click to download it again, it might just say, wait, we've already done this, and they give you the previous file, and that's not what you want. So here's our website again. I promise that I'm going to keep showing this to you so that you know how to acquire this information if, in fact, you missed it during the webinar. So momentarily, I'm going to show you the website. Here's our website. This is the address I've been printing on the screen a few times, so make sure you can see that in the URL box. And the only reason I want to show you this is it's very succinct. We go out of our way to keep things short, concise, but detailed enough to give you the information you need. So it begins with an overview. I talked about the statute, right? And it's got a frequently asked question page right at the top. You can click on that if you're an interested reader, and might answer many of your questions. And then our mailbox is important. I promised to show you our mailbox. It's on here. It's on here twice, at the top of this page, and you'll see it again at the bottom. So that's why knowing this website is important. Here is the section about registering. We won't cover it today, but that's it. That's the end of it right there. And now we get into quarterly reporting. So this here is another short section. That's it, about quarterly reporting. And here is the Excel file. So when you click on this, I'm just coaching you that your browser might have saved it from the last time and you won't get the latest version. So clearing your cache, and you can look this up on your own, but usually your browser has these 3 dots, and then it says delete browsing data, and you can see, hey, do I need to delete these files? You'd hit delete data. You'd hit delete data, and at that moment, your cache would be cleared. Then when you do the download, see how it downloads up here? You'll open it up and you'll have the latest version. So I won't show it to you in the Excel file like this during the webinar. I made my slides with images of it, but I want you to see that I made all the headers in yellow, and I have the form version right up there that says June of 2025. So when you see, hey, updated June of 2025, you should get all these here that say updated. They're either going to have a header or a footer with the date June of 2025. So just a little coaching about how our website works. After this quarterly reporting portion, if you're interested, you can go down. Here's all the instructions about the Send Vault and how to send us the information. I'll review that later. But here's what's interesting. Here's a list of all the temporary agencies that have registered with us. So when I just mentioned a minute ago that we've got over 600 registered, here they are for our current year. This top link, you click on it and you will find yourself on here. And why is this important? Because often agencies forget what their identifier is that we've assigned to them. So you can look yourself up and say, oh, here's my TAID. So when you send us a question via email, you should say, hey, I am XYZ agency, and here's my TAID. You should give them this ID. So that's all just a quick offshoot to tell you that, yes, all 600 are in a list on here. It's updated every month. So if we get another 50, it'll have 650 next month. Here's where we'll post this training. And here's previous ones. And here's some executive reports we made for the interested reader. And as promised, the email address to reach us is again on the bottom. So I know that's a lot. You say, hey, Pete, let's get moving. I'm not going to show you the website again. Now we'll go back, and we don't need this. We'll go back to our slides. And that was our website. So I talked to you about this quarterly reporting Excel file. I showed you how to download it. And here's what it really does. It asks for financial information and some demographics about the healthcare workers, right? That's what this is all about. It'll ask about how much they were paid with different rates, like overtime rates or differentials for shift or holiday, and some fringe benefits, travel pay. And it's also going to ask about where are the people located? Because remember, a lot of these are traveling people, traveling nurses, right? So they could be seemingly from Texas and on a 6-month assignment in New York City. So that's part of the reporting, and I'll show that momentarily. This Excel file that I downloaded with the yellow header has 5 tabs that you need to complete. There are 5 tabs that you need to enter information into, and we're going to show you each of those. Okay. So when I just downloaded it, you saw this in the Excel file a few moments ago. This was the agency info tab. Okay. The first thing it wants you to do is, well, first thing you should do is ensure you have the yellow header with the date that says June of 2025. Then you'll know you have the latest version. But then you're going to enter your agency name, your agency TAID. I just told you how to get that. And the reporting quarter. Those are the first 3 questions. You can enter those in the cell just below each question. So there's a question and then a blank cell below it. Your responses go in the blank cell below each question. Question 4 says, who is the responsible person for submitting this report? In other words, if we have questions or we need clarification, who do we contact? Who is the seminal person at your agency? And then give us their email address in line 5, or excuse me, in question 5, and in question 6, their contact telephone number. Questions 7 and 8 are 2 yes/no questions. And first one says, are you a vendor management system? If you say, what's a vendor management system? The answer is no. You will know if you're a vendor management system. A VMS, briefly, is sort of an online platform that connects workers to entities. Okay, so respond to that. And then number 8 is probably the most important on here. Did you have at least 1 temporary healthcare worker during the quarter? And it's yes, no. If you had no workers during the quarter, then select no, and you do not have to fill out anything else in this workbook. Close the workbook. You're going to send it to us with this tab complete. And please remember, you still have to send the other 4 components of the quarterly report package. Okay? So you won't have a lot to do in this, but you still have to send all the appendices that go along with it. Next tab. So after the agency tab, you'll see tab 1, wages and billing. And I'm showing you the whole thing. So a lot of hay is made about this, that it's difficult. It's just these 7 columns. You're going to tell us, and I'll go through these individually, but column A says, where did you place them? What's the entity, the healthcare entity? And it's a pull down menu. I'll show you it in a minute. And then you're going to tell us, what's their job category? Were they a registered nurse? Were they a physician? You'll tell us how many workers you had, what pay type you gave to the worker, the total hours they recorded for the quarter, and then what you paid them, the worker, and what you billed the healthcare entity. So let's look at those 7 columns A through G. The first one is a long pull down list of all the entities, healthcare entities in New York State. There must be 5,000 or 6,000 in the list. It's overwhelming. So if you're looking for one, there's a search feature in the blank bar. Just enter some letters in the name. Presbyterian Hospital. There's probably dozens of Presbyterian hospitals. Just start typing PRESB and it will pull up. It will pull up just those values, just those outcomes that contain that string that you typed in. St. Mary's Hospital. There's probably dozens. St. Mary. Start typing it in. I can't remember the name of the hospital, Peter, but it's the last one on this list. Gravesend Neck Road. Well, start typing Gravesend, and every healthcare facility on Gravesend Neck Road will pop up for you. Okay? Now, I know one of the questions says if it's not on the list, can we write it in? You should select other if it's not on the list. We believe that they're all on the list, but obviously this gets updated continually. And they don't always make it onto the form. So if you don't see your particular healthcare entity where you assigned workers, please scroll down to other or start typing in OTHER and you'll see the outcome pop up. Column B, the second column, says, now tell us what job category was the worker that you placed or the workers that you placed. If you had nurses and physical therapists and radiologists, then you'll report each on its own row. I'll show you that in a minute. So here's an example. Column C says, tell us the number of workers in each of these categories. So I am Peter's staffing agency, and I sent registered nurses to Albany Med Center Hospital, but I also sent physical therapists to Albany Med Center Hospital. Well, then I need these 2 rows on there for the 11 nurses I sent and the 22 physical therapists I sent fictitiously. Your data won't be fictitious. So that's column C. Column D says, tell us all the pay types that you gave to those workers. So here's the pay types. If you don't feel that the payment you gave to the worker fits in the first 9, then you can take other fringe benefits, the 10th outcome. So here's what it should look like. Again, Peter's staffing company, I sent registered nurses to Albany Med Center during the quarter, and I sent 22 physical therapists to Albany Med Center. Each time I sent a worker there, they must have the regular pay category. That's the 0 to 40 hours a week that they worked, okay? But if you notice that the second row, 8 of those nurses received overtime pay. And then the physical therapists, all of them got regular pay, but 5 of them got their lodging and meals reimbursed in this example. So here's the total hours that I have to complete in column E. So the total hours for all 11 workers was 200 hours in the quarter. And the total hours for the overtime workers was 30. But look at the last line. The last line says, hey, I put 0 hours for lodging and meals because that makes sense. Lodging and meals are not something that's calculated by the hour. So when you're in that pay type column, right, and you're selecting, notice that the first few pay types, regular pay, overtime, holiday, that's hourly type of pay. But the remaining ones are not hourly. Why is this important? Because that column that says total hours, that's the only column on here that you can have a 0. And you'd put 0 for the hours when the pay type or benefit is not computed by the hour. It's one of the final 6. Okay? That's the I'm going to repeat that. It's the only column that can have a 0. So what happens if you put zeros elsewhere? Our IT and our data analysts are going to send it back and say, hey, wait, we need more information. So let's avoid that. And I'm just pointing out that this is the only time where if your pay type or benefit is one of these non-hourly types, then you should put 0 in the hours. But all this stuff about hours and number of people worked is just leading up to the next column, column F, which says, tell us what you paid the worker. And that's what this whole report is about. You're going to have a record on here for each amount that you paid to the worker. I'm going to repeat that. In column F, you're going to give us the amount you paid to the worker. Here it is. So for the 200 hours in the first row, and again, I made this date up, I paid $95,000 total to those 11 workers. And for the amount of overtime that I paid to the 8 workers on the second row, I paid them $12,750 total. Okay? So that is really what the crux of this workbook is about, is telling us what the pay to, so every amount that you paid to the workers has to be identified on this tab 1 of the Excel file. Every amount paid. If you paid one nurse $10,000 and that included the meal cost, the overtime, you paid that one nurse $10,000 during the quarter, and you paid the next nurse $30,000 during the quarter, then what you report on here has to have all $40,000 that you outlaid to the workers. Okay? Now, the quarter has 13 weeks in it. So some people say, well, you know, Peter, June 30th is coming up. They're not really going to get the paycheck on June 30th. We're on a 4-week lag for paying them. This report wants an accrual accounting method, which means you're going to report what the worker earned during the quarter, regardless of whether they actually got the check or not. Okay, even if they're paid on a lag and they won't receive the check until July 10th, if they earned it during the quarter, then they are part of this report, column F. Just the last thing on this tab, I toggle back and forth. So I'll tell you when I'm going back and forth. Enter these amounts to the nearest whole dollar. We don't care about cents. Don't use commas or periods or dollar signs. It does pop up formatted with the period and the cents as 00. So that's column F. I promised you 7 columns. That's column 6. So now you got one more column that says, tell us what you billed for this amount that you paid to the worker. What did you bill the healthcare entity? So there's column G. Okay. So in column G, the total billed to the healthcare entity, that's where you placed the worker. Please enter the total amount billed to the healthcare entity for this job category and pay type for the reported number of hours worked. Okay, so here's a picture. I'm toggling again. I went ahead and I'm going to go back in a minute. So I told you I paid $95,000 total to 11 workers in the first row, but I billed $150,000 to the healthcare entity. There it is. In the second row for the overtime, $12,750 was paid to all the workers, but I billed $17,000. And you can see how I filled out the remaining 2 rows. Okay. When I go back up, now let me show you again. Well, sorry. If no hours are reported, because the first bullet says, tell us what you billed for the hours that were worked. But if no hours were reported, because remember, I told you that the hours is the only column that can have a 0. So in those crazy cases where you put a 0 for the number of hours, then this second bullet is applicable. If no hours are reported because of the pay type you selected, then enter the total amount billed to the healthcare facility to reimburse you for the amount you paid to the worker in column F. Okay, so here, look at the last row, 0 hours. So now you need to tell us in column G what you billed the healthcare entity to reimburse you for the $40,000 you paid to the worker. So in this example, I assumed you mark it up 5, 6, 7%. I don't know what you mark it up, but you can see that, hey, the bill, Peter, was more than what we paid. Okay, I'm toggling again and go back for a moment. No missing or 0 values in column G, right? F and G cannot have zero values. E is the only column that can have zero values. So sorry to sound like a broken record, but I just want people ask that all the time. I want to make that clear. Checking my notes, making sure I didn't overlook anything for you. I think my IT staff asks me quite a bit, and they say, Peter, remind people that regular pay, that pay type or benefit in column D, remind them that regular pay is the first 40 hours that they work. So per worker, there's only 13 weeks in the quarter, and there's only 40 hours a week. So 40 times 13, if my math is good, is 520 hours per worker. That is regular pay. Anything else must be overtime pay. So I promised my IT staff I would mention that. And again, you will identify on this tab called tab 1, wages and billing, you'll identify all the pay to the workers. Okay. Now you might say, Peter, we billed more to the healthcare facility than what's showing on column G, right? There was other bills other fees that we administered to the healthcare facility. You might also say, Peter, this looks like we marked it up 50%. We're all rich. We had a lot of other expenses, Peter. That, this isn't just all profit. And I agree with you. So I'm going to show you what tab 2 looks like. But I told you, I promised you I would keep showing you our website. If you haven't jotted it down, here's just a little reminder. Jot down this website. You can also notice that the prefix is just the Department of Health in blue, and the suffix is our specific page. Okay, so if you forget facilities / staffing _ agents, if you forget that, just go to the DOH website, which is health.ny.gov. Just go there, hit the search bar inside the website, and put in temporary staffing. You'll find our webpage. Okay. So now I just told you a moment ago, you filled out tab 1. It said you paid the worker $100,000, but you billed $150,000. And you said, wait, Peter, well, we had a bunch of expenses. Okay. Well, great. Tab 2 is going to allow you to identify all the revenue and all the expenses for your agency's healthcare workers during the quarter. So this is what tab 2 looks like. There's only 2 more tabs after this, and they're real easy. So we're pretty much on the landing path now. Okay. So a special note, again, my data analysts, my IT department say total expenses should be less than your total revenue, right? What's your revenue? The revenue in the top yellow boxes, total agency revenue, that's the amounts you billed to the healthcare entities, the amount of money you took in. Okay. So I told you might have other fees that you billed to the healthcare entity, but you didn't pay it to the worker. Then if you didn't pay it to the worker, it does not go on this tab 1. But if you build it, you identify it on tab 2. So here's other bills, and you could ostensibly have 0 and say, I didn't bill any of these. Well, you'll fill this out as zeros. Okay. Your expenses, which I said, hey, wait, Peter, I've got other stuff. I've got rent, I've got equipment and insurance and administrative salaries. You can identify your other expenses in the bottom portion of this. And if you look in the bottom portion, it says total agency expense. The first line is what tab 1 was. So again, I told you earlier, if you paid one nurse $10,000 and the second nurse $30,000, then your total payments for the quarter were $40,000. Then this box on tab 2 should say $40,000. That's the wages and benefits paid to the healthcare workers. So under the bottom expense portion, the first line says wages and benefits paid to the healthcare workers. That should be identical to tab 1. And you can identify your other expenses on here too, such as I had administrative personnel wages, right, for running my agency, etc. Okay. So that's it for tab 2. And I promised you 2 more tabs, 3 and 4, and then we're done. So tab 3 and 4 talk about where the worker resided. Tab 3 talks about where the worker resided if they lived in the United States. And I'm going to toggle here. I told you I like to toggle. I'm going to go ahead one. And I'm going to show you tab 4 says, hey, what if they were from another country? Then they go on tab 4. So if they're from the United States, they go on tab 3. If they're from another country, on tab 4. And I'm going to go back to tab 3 and show you that we ask for what is their state of residence, their primary residence, what is their zip code of their residence, and what was their work location, the county in New York State. And that's a pull down menu. You'll have our 62 counties in there. You just identify where they worked. Again, most of these are traveling nurses. So you can understand that a lot of them will say, yeah, I came from Florida. I'm on a 6-month position in Albany, New York, right? So the county would be Albany, New York, but the residence state would be Florida and their residence zip code. Column D is what's their job category? Were they a physician, right? Were they a physical therapist? It's the same pull down menu that you had on the previous tabs, okay? And this tab, tab 3, is just like tab 4, except tab 4 is only for international workers because the drop down says tell us their country. So you tell us that they're from Afghanistan, I don't know, I'm making it up. And then column B picks up where we left off. What county in New York State did you place them? Did you place them in Erie County? Did you place them in the Bronx? Are they in Albany County? And what was the job category? Oh, physician? Then you fill that, it's a pull down menu. That's it for the Excel file. Okay, that's it. It's 4 tabs in the Excel file. The most important tab is tab 1. Meaning it's the longest. It'll take you a few moments to fill out completely. And then when you're done, you'll take that Excel file and you'll have other appendices, right? I said there was 5 components you need to do for the entire quarterly package. You'll take all 5 of those and you need to upload them to us. Hey, Peter, why can't we just send them to you in an email? Well, you can't because you'll crash the email. A lot of these appendices are large. Certainly when we're talking about PDF copies of invoices, some of the big facilities have hundreds of pages. So what we did is we purchased a product from IBM called SendVault, and it's literally instantaneous. You can upload megabytes and megabytes of information to us, and it's secure, and it can handle such a large size. What's the downfall? You have to load an app, okay, onto your machine, the SendVault app. I'm not going to talk about how to load that app. Wink, wink. All those instructions are on our website, right? So it tells you how to load the app. What I just want to show you is once you get the app, how do you send it to us? So I just have 2 screens here to show you that after you've loaded the app, when you open it up, it's going to look like the right side of our screen, okay? And it just wants a few things. It's going to have a big box in the middle that says title, which is you're just titling what you're sending to us. Again, my data staff say, please use this, this nomenclature for titling it. Put your agency ID, TA999, all right? And then your agency name, best staffing, and then the contents that you're uploading. So you have to give us 5 files for the quarterly report. You can do them one at a time. It might drive our data people batty, but you can do them all at once in one package, or you can do it 5 different packages. Just put the contents upload, quarterly report, or invoice copies. That's the blue field for the naming convention, contents uploaded. So in this example, I picked 2025 Q2 quarterly report. That's what you're going to be sending us starting next week. Okay. So if that changes in SendVault, there's instructions in SendVault. It might not say exactly this. Sometimes the IT staff change it and say, oh, put the agency name first. Just follow the instructions that appear in SendVault when you open the app. Okay. It'll tell you how to do the title. Write anything you want in Note. Note can be blank. You could write, hey, have a lovely day. Okay. But the note field, you can put whatever you want. And then you just go down and you say, how do I upload? You hit browse for files or browse for a folder, but you're going to browse your machine and you're going to find the 5 files, hopefully, and you load them into this vault. And then the next thing, you've got to click on the terms of service near the bottom and hit send package. That's it. load them into this vault, hit send package, you're done. Well, Peter, what does it look like after I do it? Well, here's the next screen. Okay. Oh, first I just highlighted that it will tell you in the instructions how to identify the title. The title. Okay. So here you are. Up. Next screen will pop up and it will say, enter a passphrase for this secure file transfer. Now, on the other end, we are the only people that have the key to this vault. So every one of you can use the same temp agency !1. That is going to be the password that you enter into this IBM product. And that's just so we can unlock it on our end. Okay. Do not put this password on the individual Excel file itself. Okay. The Excel file should not have any password protections on it. Don't put that on. Don't protect any sheet. Don't lock anything down. Don't change any formatting on the Excel file. Okay. This is just after you're doing the transfer in the SendVault app, it will say to you, hey, set a passphrase so that the Department of Health can unlock it. And yes, every one of you will use this same passphrase for us. You put it in twice, you hit OK, go. This is what it looks like. Okay. It shows you that you sent in this title that you typed in on this date. Here's the size. And the important thing is that over on the right side of our screen, it's got to say status complete. If it says failed or there's any other abort or problem, then you're going to have to do it again. So please, just after you hit the send, you'll put in the passphrase for the vault, and then you want to make sure it says complete. And that's it. I promised to get you out of here early. I hope we're on schedule. I have 3:41 p.m. here Eastern Time in Albany, New York. And that's it. Now, I have seen people asking questions in the chat log, and the team is hammering away at that. So please continue if you have questions. But also understand that you might have a longer question that you don't want to put in the chat box. Here's our email address. It's a little long. If you remember our website address, you can just copy it from the website address, right? You go to our web page and this email address will appear on there. But for those that like writing, temp agency registration at health.ny.gov. Send questions there. You will be able to access the recording. I need my IT staff. We're going to post this recorded webinar on the bottom of our web page. Okay, so you'll see it there. It might take them a week. So in the meantime, if there's stuff you missed and it's not on the website, hint, check the FAQs on the website. Okay, but if you really still have a question after you've exhausted those resources, send it to our mailbox. We'll try to get back to you within a day. If you're just looking for the webinar posting, the recorded webinar, then please give us about a week. You'll see it pop up. I'm gonna escape out of here just for a moment and show you the website. So if you look, I'm at the bottom of our website here. We're at the bottom. Okay. You'll see it pop up here. Here's the last one from March of 2025. So 3 months later, April, May, June. The next one should say June of 2025. Give me a week to get it up there with IT, and then we've got the July 4 holiday. So we promise we'll get it up there as soon as we can. Okay? Keep these resources posted. For a small group, you have our word. We'll get back to you on any questions. Sometimes it takes us a while. Doesn't mean we're hiding. You can send your questions and answers.
Thanks so much, Peter. I think we have one more question that Ben's working on.
Beautiful. Here's
But
our
other than
small
that,
team. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying thank you. You did
You're
great.
welcome. You're welcome. We're real human people. Here we are. If you write to us, we'll often put our name in it, that we're writing back from Peter or Danny or Ben or Lawrence. Nicole, Brian, sometimes they didn't want their picture taken. But thank you, everyone.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Some people want to see this list again while we're taking questions. Here are all the registered companies. You should see your name on there. If you paid and registered and we acknowledged it, we sent you a registration certificate, and you should be on our list of 600 people here. And it's sortable. So we bothered our website staff to say, hey, sort it by agency ID or sort it by name. I like it by name, but they seem to sort it by agency ID. So I'm going to back up to our main webpage. And I'm just going to show you at the top our FAQ section. Because people say, hey, I want to read those FAQs, Peter. Where are they? They're all the way at the top. So it's maybe not entirely intuitive that they're up top. But hey, who needs to register? Here's all the questions about who needs to register in the statute. Timelines. Quarterly reporting questions. Look at that.
Pete, we've answered all the questions.
Fantastic. It looks like we can get out of here early. I
Yep.
thank everyone for their time, and I hope you're in a nice, warm location, everyone across the United States. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to stop the recording.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Ben, if you'd stop the recording and then cancel, we're good.
I just stopped recording.
Thank you.
The recording is still in process.
I click stopping.